What's up? How y'all doing? Sugamarker. It's like an exciting and depressing time of year, right? Because all of the knife companies are about to release their new lineup. Sorry about hitting the tripod. Their new lineup, right? All of the knives that they're going to be coming out with in 2017, and everybody's really stoked about that, right? Everybody's like, oh, just kind of waiting for it, waiting for it. And I'm sure you've heard by now the Benchmade has discontinued their entire H&K lineup, right? This is an H&K entourage, right? And they're discontinuing the whole line. There's a lot of H&K knives, especially some of the OTFs. People are really surprised about it. It's really kind of shocking because they're a great alternative to the general Benchmade lineup, right? But I've been doing a little bit of research and I can't find an actual specific list of Benchmades that are actually being discontinued for 2017, but I have found a few of them. This is what I have found out. I've got a few of them lined up here. The first one that I'm going to talk about is a 655, right? Or 665, excuse me. 665 Ambidextrous Push-Button. This one came out in 2015. And in my review of that, I stated that I don't think they're going to be making very knives with this specific mechanism. It's just too complicated. This knife itself had a few drawbacks. It's not that comfortable. It wasn't that good. I didn't give it the best shining review, and I think that opinion carried over to the actual market because they are discontinuing this knife specifically for 2017. They're no longer going to be making the ambidextrous push button. I don't know if that holds true to the actual automatic version of this specific knife here, but I know they are discontinuing that model there, so I just don't think it was quite a hit. I don't know if they're going to be using this little mechanism here, the crazy mechanism. One that was kind of a surprise to me is the 745 or the 746, excuse me, 746 Mini Onslaught, right? This was actually, the original Onslaught was a big knife. It was a little bit longer, probably about 10 inches overall, 9.5 inches overall. This is the mini version. They've made this one a lot longer, but they're actually discontinuing it. This is the late Bob Lum. He passed away a couple years ago, maybe about a year and a half ago now. This was one of his designs. Excellent knife, excellent little slicer, and a beautiful knife. Feels fantastic in the hand. Very thin grind, very thin 154 cm blade. I'm definitely a really big fan of this knife. Not for general purpose, for just more for fondling overall aesthetic. I'm really a big fan of this, and I can see a lot of people really liking it, so it's kind of surprising they're discontinuing that one. And a sad one, right? A couple days ago, I just released a video. It was my top 5 favorite folding knives, right? And on that list was the 757 Vicar. This one. I freaking love this knife. It's got a couple drawbacks, but it's overall fantastic, right? And they're actually discontinuing this one as well. And I think the reason on this one, the reason that they're going to be discontinuing this is it's just too damn expensive. It doesn't quite fit the, what we're looking for in aesthetic. The modern perception of what a tactical folding knife should be. I think that that's the reason they're actually discontinuing it. I think that, I do think that, it's just titanium. There's no lock bar in there. There's no lock. It doesn't have a visible lock bar stabilizer, even though it is using the G10 scale for that. But it is kind of a strange blade shape. It's not going to be universally appealing. I can definitely see that's going to fit into a certain market, but I love that knife. I love the way that it handles, but they're going to be discontinuing that one as well. It's a 757 Vicar, and they're not actually discontinuing this, right? This is a 583 Barrage, the Tonto. The 580 is the normal drop point version. They're not actually discontinuing this. What they're discontinuing is the 586, which is the mini version. If you're familiar with the mini version of this, I honestly thought that was one of their best-selling knives. I know it's really, really popular, and I would have thought that it was selling more, but maybe with the modern evolution of knife technology, G10 taking over FRN, these handle scales, the assisted mechanism on a smaller, less tactical knife, it does have some drawbacks in the mini itself, so I can see them discontinuing that one, but it's still kind of a shock. I really do think it's the handle scales, these GFN handle scales, that are probably taking that one off of the line. This one here, I think they're going to be continuing the large size version just because it hits a price point, right? It hits that intermediate price point to where it's like an entry level axis lock, right? It's still assisted, you still get all of the axis lock parts, but you're only paying $140 for it. So it's cheap for what it is. You know what I mean? For what you're actually getting for the Benchmade name. So I think that's probably why they're going to be continuing making a larger version. I just don't know if that holds over to the actual smaller version, the Mini. This is an MP5 from H&K. The entire H&K line is being discontinued. And like I mentioned, this one here is an Entourage. There's a few others. These are just the ones that I have. The 710, right? If you're familiar with the 710, McHenry and Williams designed 710 from Benchmade, it was the first knife ever to come out with the axis lock. It's being discontinued in 2017. I know where one is. I'm about to go buy it because it's a knife that I have to have as a Benchmade collector. I need the first knife with an axis lock. I mean, that's kind of their signature locking mechanism, and they're discontinuing the 710, which I know for a fact is still a very popular knife. Kind of surprises me. As well as the 900 Striker. They're discontinuing the manual action 900 Striker. I've only got confirmation on the 900. I don't know if they're actually discontinuing the automatic version of the 900 as well. There may be another one that they're discontinuing. I don't know for sure whether or not there's going to be more that they're discontinuing. I haven't seen an actual lineup for what they're coming out with, but I have gotten a pretty reliable word that they're coming out with a lot of smaller gentlemen's assisted models. Like a few of the ones that they came out with last year. And honestly, I'm not too happy with that one. I wish that they'd stick to them, the mid-level manual action folder. I think that's what Benchmade really excels the best at, but we'll see. Let's see what they come up with. Spyderco's got a whole bunch of things discontinued for this year. That was the K2 that I flashed in earlier. They discontinued this one, and I think there's a couple reasons why they did it. None of them are good reasons, but I do think that, yeah, they're discontinuing that one next year. They're discontinuing the Rubicon. There's a bunch of them going away, but it'll be exciting to see what they come up with. They new early release. So y'all have a good one. Yeah. Stop.